Добрый день, дорогие друзья! Спасибо большое, что смотрите наш прямой эфир. Мы всегда рады тому, что вы следите за нами и за нашими новостями. А сегодня у нас необычный и довольно интересный эфир для всех, которые желают поступить в колледже UWC. А сегодня мы общаемся с теми, кто следит за вами 24/7, помогает вам получить документы для того, чтобы добраться до колледжа и вообще оказывает всестороннюю поддержку и заботу. А именно это главы департаментов по работе с студентами, то есть admissions departments, двух наших азиатских колледжей, а именно это Lindsay, Head of Admission Director of ISAK School, это наш первый колледж в Японии, и Marcel from UWC Southeast Asia College в Сингапуре. Hi, hello, nice to meet you today. So, how are you doing?
Hello, Lindsay. Hello.
Hi, I'm doing great. It's a little late this evening in Japan, but happy to be here.
What time is it right now there?
It's 9 p.m.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Marcel?
Hi there. It's just 1 hour behind Japan here, so we're 8 o'clock.
Okay. We are very sorry for so late talk, but anyway, so let's start our conversation.
So you can go to sleep today at the right time.
Okay. So ladies, could you tell us what is UWC in your personal opinion? Lindsay, could you start with answering?
Sure. Okay, so United World College is, to me, a global education movement, which is actually what is used in the mission and vision. To me, it offers a different style of education to literally every type of citizen around the world. So it is an educational movement to create a global citizen that transcends borders and barriers across a wide description of diversity. That helps.
Okay, thank you. And Marcel, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I think it's a place where you can find a community of people who kind of force you to learn about yourself and learn about other people. And then you discover your passion for different kinds of things, because there's so many different things that you can't really experience in any other place. And then you find the thing that you are going to be passionate about and learn the skills that will help you make an impact one day wherever you go after this.
Great. And Marcel and Lisa too, before you learned that UWC is so great from working from inside, why did you decide to join the movement? Did you know that it's so great and, opens up so many doors and it's basically an exciting job?
No, I've actually found out about it from my own students. So I was working in a different school and 3 of my students wanted to apply to UWCs in different places. And I kind of learned about how they had to apply through their national committees. And one of them went to USA, one went to Mahindra, one went to Lipo Chun. And that's kind of where I started learning about it. And then when there was an opportunity to come to UWC SEA, I thought, oh, wow, this is like amazing. But I don't think anything can teach you about what it's like to be here until you're actually here. Yeah, you can read it on paper, but there's like an intensity about being here that you just don't get until you're actually here.
Thank you. And Lindsay, what's your experience?
Yeah, so I am brand new to the UWC world. I was a university admissions counselor and recruiter for a long time in Canada. And so I used to go around and visit international schools all over the world. And I got to visit a few UWCs early on in my recruitment days. And my visits have always been very different when I go to a UWC school. So I learned by visiting the school for one day every couple of seasons, I guess. So Costa Rica, Pearson College, UWC USA, mostly in the Americas. And then Waterford in Swaziland. Got to know the college counselors and got to know the students because they were applying to the universities that I was working for. So I was very aware of the different style of education that UWC schools have, just because I visited so many, and it has been my dream to work for UWC. So I'm pinching myself that it has happened because I didn't know about it as a student, and I really, really wish I had known about it. So at least, you know, in my career, I get to work it in there. But yeah.
I feel like it's the same regret that all of us have, that we didn't know about UWC back at the time, but at least we are here right now, right? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Lindsay and Marcel, so I have another question for you. So what do you think makes UWC so special and makes it different from any other boarding school all over the world?
Okay, I think, you want me to go first here?
Go ahead.
So the key factor I think that makes UWC different is that it is an education system that lives up to its actual mission. So the Kurt Hahn, founding father of the school system, the belief that diversity is not just about diverse nationalities, but diverse socioeconomic backgrounds. This is an educational movement that actually helps students change their class standings. I don't know how to say it in a more transparent way, but it is a scholarship program that actually works. Very, very few schools have been as successful and long-lasting as this type of movement. And every year it continues to be successful, and it continues to actually change lives. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Marcel, what do you think?
Something a little bit similar, I suppose. It's the people that you're going to meet. You're never ever going to be in a place like this ever again that's going to have people from 40 or 50 different nationalities living so close together all the time. And the experience of that is so massively valuable and life-changing. That makes it so different from anywhere else I've ever encountered. That, and I think also the commitment to other people. So the commitment to service to others, the commitment to making a difference to people around you. That kind of focus you get, which you don't often get in other kinds of schools. I think that makes it really special.
Okay, thank you.
And then we also have questions not only from the applicants, but their parents too. And of course, it's some about safety, logistics kind of questions. And let's start with the question about visa process. How do the students get it? Do they get any help from the colleges in this procedure?
So, Lindsay, could you start, please? Or Marcel?
Okay. So at UWC ISAK Japan, we do everything with the Japanese government. So literally, we will just ask for the information from the selected student, and we have a team on campus that will get all of the visas that are required. So really, you just have to be able to respond to some emails.
So it's pretty much a very easy process, right?
Yeah.
Marcel, please. With you and your college?
It's quite similar in Singapore. In Singapore, students are not allowed to apply for their own visas. It has to be the school that applies for them. So pretty much once we've got your nomination forms from your national committees and a copy of your passport, we send you an email if there's anything else that we need. We do all the forms online. We'll send you a link for some of the bits that you have to complete online through a web page, and then it all just magically happens. You don't have to go to any embassy or anything like that. You'll get a printed out letter, which you just print out and take with you to the airport, and then that's your visa.
What a life.
Okay, thank you very much. And so let's prolong these logistic details. So for most of our students, traveling to the college will be maybe the first traveling alone without parents abroad. So could you tell us how will the students met by someone at the airport, and how do they get to the school? So let's prolong. Marcel, could you start?
Sure. Actually, that whole pickup process starts before the student even arrives. So before a student arrives, they'll get a buddy who is here already, who will be the person who's going to pick them up from the airport along with some of the staff here. And we have like big welcome banners, and like we cheer a lot when you come. And then, so yeah, we pick you up from the airport and we bring you to the boarding house. And most of our students have never actually flown on an airplane before, and never mind traveled by themselves. So we're quite used to helping students who are quite scared about traveling, and we answer all their questions before they arrive.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would just add, it's pretty much the exact same thing. We're in Karizawa, which is about an hour and 10 minutes from Tokyo on the bullet train. But most of the time our students don't take the bullet train because we have buses scheduled to pick up the students as groups from the airport. So we actually try to schedule all of the arrivals to be at similar time. And very much like Marcel at UWC SEA, we have big groups, we have staff, we have alumni, we have current students that are there cheering with banners, and we have a little greeting room in the airport set up for students. And we bus it into the mountains, which is about a 4-hour bus ride from the airport once they arrive. So they're never alone as soon as they get here.
Thank you. Well, that's interesting. Since we go with this timeline of events like visa and then travel from the airport, the next logical question would be, once they get to the campus, do the students go through some experience of orientation day, week, and if they do, what do they learn from this experience, from this orientation day? Lindsay, I always forget that I need to tell someone. Lindsay, can you please answer this question?
So definitely we have an orientation. We're the newest member of the UWC movement. We're the newest school. So, and we are a very young school. We're actually only 4 years old this year. So we're actively kind of tweaking our orientation every year. So it's been evolving, I would say. There's always minimum a week. Sometimes it's 2 weeks. We're debating 10 days. It is meant to have students kind of settle in, get to know who their housemates are, get to know the school, who the teachers are, before we have to throw on the academic kind of stress that comes with the IB. So I think orientation can be described as a really fun bonding opportunity. We have different types of orientation as well, depending on how outdoor ed interested you are. Because our outdoor ed program is a very important program, a part of our school. And so sometimes our students will actually go camping for a portion of their orientation, and going out into the mountains and camping is a really great way to bond with your peers and your teachers. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you.
Marcel, please, your turn.
We have an orientation week. So once you arrive about a week before the school orientation side of things starts. So in total, it's about 10 days before you actually start your classes. And we try and focus each day on a different UWC value. So they learn a lot about the movement and the mission, and kind of how we try and do that in our community. But then also they obviously learn a lot about the practical side of like life in a house with lots of other people. So simple things like how to do laundry and where to get meals and stuff like that. And we also show them around Singapore. So we help them learn about Singapore, the place, and we take them to different places. We teach them how to use public transport, and learn about living life independently so far away from home. So it's a mixture of learning about the movements, but also learning about life in Singapore, and then also learning about how to, like, your daily life over here.
Okay, thank you very much. So, dear ladies, and right now UWC Russia collects the applications from the candidates from Russia, and so as you, as the most professional persons who we may ask about it, could you describe an ideal UWC candidate in your personal opinion? Lindsay, please, could you start, please?
Sure. Okay, so UWC ISAK Japan has a really key focus on leadership, entrepreneurialism, innovativeness, and outdoor ed, as I mentioned. And I do think that those are really similar kind of across the UWC movement. The keys that I would be looking for when I'm evaluating an application are things like open-mindedness and potential within a lot of those areas. Creativeness is important. Being a self-starter is really important, but I think I'll always revert back to, are you open-minded? Are you adaptable, flexible? Those kinds of things. That would be what makes you a good fit for us. I think those more general qualities, being open to whatever comes your way at the school, is probably the most important thing for any school. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And Marcel, could you share your opinion with us?
Totally agree on the open-mindedness. If you're going to come here and not be open to experiencing things that are outside of your comfort zone or engaging with people who are outside of your usual group, life here is going to be really hard. Also, definitely resilience. You have to be able to suffer like disappointments and feel anxiety sometimes and that kind of thing, but still be tough about it and know yourself well enough to know that you can get through things. You can imagine living really far away from your family on the other side of the world in a totally new environment with so many different kinds of people is a huge challenge to your own identity and to your own sense of who you are. So resilience to overcome that, and especially once the IB starts going in full swing, nothing can prepare you for that academic experience, no matter what academic system you come from. So resilience there is super important. And a willingness to engage. If you're just going to come here and sit and watch, that's going to be a very rewarding experience for you. So you must be willing to throw yourself into lots of different things, crazy things that you never even thought of before. And have those conversations that challenge you and just engage all the time, because that's the way you'll get the most out of everything.
And Marcel, since you started on the hard life situation, I want to move to my question about hard life at college. What obstacles students encounter once they arrive there, especially first year, if they go through some emotional personal issues, do they get any help at the college, and how would they get the support?
Mm-hmm. Everyone gets homesick, 100%. No matter how excited you are to leave home, nothing prepares you for that distance that you're going to feel. And that's really, really normal. And some people feel that from the first 2 days that they're here, and some people feel it only like 2 months later. But it is something that everyone goes through at some point. And of course, we're all here to help you feel at home as much as possible. So certainly we have a lot of buddy systems in place. We have a lot of counselors in place to help people express those feelings and deal with them in a way that's constructive. The other thing we find students really take a while to adjust to is the fact they have to speak and think in English a lot. And for most of them, that's really not what they do every day. And that frustration of being able to follow the conversation but not be able to contribute in a way that they would in their home language, that's really, really hard for our students to kind of overcome. But that comes with a bit of patience, because suddenly their English improves after 2 or 3 months and they get better and better and better. But we obviously also have ESL support. So we have people who come in and help people develop their English faster. And your ears get used to listening to people speak in different accents, and that comes eventually. The other thing that our students sometimes find challenging is learning in such a different style. So a lot of people come from education systems where you sit in a class, you get given information and you memorize it and you write a test. They're really not used to our style of teaching here sometimes, which is very much the teachers expect the students to bring discussion and to bring the learning to class. And a lot of students find that really like disconcerting almost. Like they lose their confidence because they don't believe that they kind of have that power in the classroom. So that takes a bit of time to get used to. And I would say 99% of our students eventually, like, they go, oh yeah, we get it. And then, you know, they kind of get on the right track and feeling good about themselves. But we have lots and lots of support networks in here. You have house parents who live in the boarding house with you. You have students around you all the time who've been here before and who can give you guidance. We have counselors. We have lots and lots of people who are always here to help. The important thing is that people just need to say when they're finding things difficult, and we can help faster.
True, yeah, it's important to speak up and actually share what's happening with you in order for others to help you. Thank you for such a detailed answer. And Lindsay, how it goes with your college?
Oh, that's so hard to follow. Everything that Marcel said, again, I 100% agree with. I think that everybody gets homesick, even no matter how old you are either. We all experience it. English levels are definitely a struggle after 3 months, just as Marcel said. There's usually a huge improvement. So the first 3 months, I think, can be a little bit overwhelming for new students. I also think that the IB, like the kind of curriculum that our students are studying, is pretty intense, and you jump right into it in English, which makes it seem a whole lot scarier than it actually is. And you are expected to be engaged in the classroom, right? So it's very participatory. I think what happens, this change in education style, it would happen when you go to university. You have to go to class prepared to participate versus going to class expecting to hear everything and learn everything and then do homework. So you're almost doing homework ahead of time to be prepared for the class. So it's a reversal of what we're traditionally used to in most classroom settings, because the way that we learn and teach in this type of community is through discussion, conversations, and engagement. Marcel has said this a few times, but being willing to engage is super important for your success, and being prepared to have opinions and to not be afraid to say what your opinions are. It's important for us not to have the same opinions in every classroom. So one of the things that I think we look at in admissions, at least for us, is that we're building a cohort of challenging ideas, because having a classroom full of the same kinds of thinkers isn't challenging. As Marcel said, we have a similar program to house parents. We call them advisory families. So students are connected with a faculty member, a teacher, and they've set up in like little family moments that they have weekly meetings and activities. They'll go to movies. They'll go out for sushi row. They'll go out to dinner, and they'll do things kind of like a family. I just actually came from a Friday night House Olympics activity, which is why I'm a little bit disheveled. We've been having house competitions based on advisories this week, just for bonding, and there were some performances and some really funny skits. So there's a lot of activity. And I think the other piece that I hear from our students that it can be a struggle is that they're busy. They are super, super busy. Everybody wants to do everything at the school. And so it's a really interesting challenge to figure out, how do you do time management? How do you not over-engage yourself with everything that you want to do? So there's a lot of self-learning that will happen through all of the cool things that you can do. And often in the first year, students do over-engage themselves. They want to do everything. And in their second year, they recognize that if they choose a few less things and they take a leadership role, that they can actually have more of a meaningful connection to what they're participating in. So there's a lot of quick learning that happens. Yeah.
It really sounds like a lot of hard work, but at the same time, so much fun. Well, personally, I feel like it is fun.
Yeah. Okay, dear ladies, and so we do know that IB diploma is a really demanding program, and sometimes students are not very successful. There at the very beginning. So let's just remember some cases, maybe outstanding cases, when the student at the beginning was not supposed even to graduate UWC college, but something magic has been happened, and so he or she just understood that he needs to try, and then miracle has been happened, and he graduated and even was very successful there. Could you just tell us about such wonderful and inspiring moments?
Well, if it really happened. If it didn't, you don't have to mention it right now.
Okay.
And Lindsay, you go first.
Okay, so we have only had one graduating class so far.
Right.
And actually, we only became a UWC this August. So I can use some stories from the graduating class, but to be honest with you, it's harder for me to say that, to give you that kind of story. Our students, when they come to UWC ISAK Japan, do two diplomas. They do the IB diploma, and they also do the Japanese high school diploma. Mm-hmm. So our students actually have to complete more hours than IB because they're completing hours for both diplomas, which is intense. Now, a difference. Oh, yeah, question?
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, why did you guys decide to go this way for them to actually graduate to get two diplomas?
Yeah. I actually think it has more just to do with the way the school started, because we're such a young school. We started as a Japanese ministry education school without even knowing we were going IB or knowing if we would become a UWC. I think that was the plan, but you never know how things go. So we are built as a school a little bit differently than some of the more traditional UWCs that exist around the world too. So we actually have a grade 10 component that national committee students don't come into, but we accept 40 grade 10 students on our own direct intake that will do an intensive leadership program in grade 10, pre-IB, so a foundation year to prepare them for the rigor of IB. And that grade 10 is really set up along the Japanese Ministry of Education component. So because we have that basis, we just kind of have our students go along both curriculums. This isn't that strange. In Canada, most IB schools complete their provincial curriculum and the IB. A lot of international schools do have dual diplomas. So I think it's maybe just a new trend. And the benefit is that as IB is becoming more recognized internationally, in Japan, now we're giving our students the opportunity to have a transcript that works for Japanese universities as well. That is a little bit more well-known in Japan, if that makes sense. Yeah, but your original question I have gone off of, which was like, how difficult is it? Is IB is tough, and what kind of great, awesome stories do we have? Okay, so.
But we can come back to this question in a year from now, and then you'll answer.
I do have one really cool one, because we do have students who have struggled with IB. All of our graduating class last year completed the IB diploma, which is great. And our average is about 42 on the IB diploma score. So it's a good average for 1 year. It's not statistically significant yet, but we had a student who really struggled, barely really didn't speak much English when they arrived in grade 11, and they still made it through and just kind of passed the IB diploma. It was a big thing that they earned the diploma. But they got a full ride scholarship through the Nippon Foundation to a Japanese university. So we have not only access to the Davis scholarships as a UWC school this year, we're also connected to the Nippon Foundation in Japan, which gives only our school, only international students at our school, a full ride scholarship, 10 of them, to any university of their choice in Japan. So that's kind of cool opportunity there. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on to Marcel. What's your story?
I think if we have 200 people in a class, we have 200 stories. Like the IB, everyone struggles. Like, people mustn't come here thinking, oh, I'll be fine. I'm like top in my country for science. It's going to be easy. Everyone struggles with the IB. So that's important to remember. It's not like you're any less clever or less prepared than anyone else. It's just no one can be prepared for this. But I've had so many students. I'm trying to think of which one to tell you about. We're also a school that is not just 2 years. So we actually go from kindergarten to the end of IB program. So we have quite a lot of flexibility. So right now we have a student when she arrived from Ethiopia, and she spoke no English, literally. Like, she had zero English. She couldn't communicate and she couldn't cope in class. And so for her, we supported her by letting her do 3 years instead of 2 years, because she needed that to be able to cope with the IB program. So last year she joined our grade 10 class, and the only focus that she had for the whole year was learning English and learning how to feel good about learning again, because in her country she was like number 2 in the country and superstar, and she came here and she couldn't even access a normal class. And I'm really pleased to say she's now started her IB program again. And she's like soaring. Her English now is just, it's unbelievable. And it just like always reminds us that no matter where you start from, if you engage, if you try it and you work hard and you communicate and you get help when you need it, there is lots of help and you can definitely progress to where you want to go. That's a really common story here. Students who arrive with very little English, and their English doesn't allow them to access the academic side of things. And that's okay. We have lots of support in place. You can, in your free blocks, you can go and sit down with someone who helps you organize your homework or helps you communicate with teachers. And I think a lot of people also bring difficulties from home with them. So a lot of students who arrive here, we forget that they have lives back home and things happen. Parents get divorced or family members die, and coping with that. And we had a boy here from Chile who had a really difficult time at home. And when he came back in his second year in the holidays, he had a lot of trauma at home. And he came back and he just wasn't in the emotional place to cope with the demands of learning in English and living in this place and dealing with all of these things. But that's where we're really flexible. We just negotiated, moved around all his deadlines, gave him the space that he needed. He wanted to go for counseling, so we put that in place for him. So whatever he needed, we helped him with. And there were moments where we thought, oh God, is this going to happen? And he shocked us. Like, he got 38 points on the IB, like way beyond anything we ever expected. He just pulled through in the end because he got the strength back from all the different kinds of support that he had. So every year we have at least 10 stories like that, which makes it such an awesome place to work, honestly, and such an awesome place for you to live around all these really inspiring people.
This is seriously very inspiring, honestly, like knowing these stories, hearing from you guys, this is very cool. And as we go right now, we are live on Facebook, right? And we received a few questions, and I just want to ask the last one I see right now. So let me read it from Facebook. I'd like to know, are school marks important for entering UWC? Can, Marcel, let's start with you. Can you answer that?
Interesting question. We don't look for one kind of student. So I can't say yes or no. We are looking for diversity. So we want some students who are academically strong and we want some students who aren't because their strengths will be somewhere else. I think more than academics is a desire to push yourself and a desire to challenge everything that you've ever thought from. And that passion is going to carry you through the hard times way more than if you were the best in science or maths. I mean, obviously, it makes life a little bit easier in terms of the academics if you are already academically strong, but we're definitely not looking for the top students in any particular place.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. So motivation is sometimes even more important than academic performance.
Lindsay, how it goes with you, like at ISAK college?
So if we're controlling the admissions, which we do for some of the students, academics is the least important factor to us. So very similar to what Marcel said, we're looking for different types of qualities and we're looking for the potential. It would be unfair of us to try to measure all the world's curriculums as the same because they're not. So yeah, well, we do ask for transcripts. It's just a formality mostly to see what grade you have achieved in your home country. They're the least important quality for us, but that's a question that needs to be relayed mostly to the NC that you're applying to, because ultimately it's the national committee that makes the decision of who to nominate. So I would throw the question back at you guys.
Okay, so
that's cool. You redirected at us, but okay, we'll answer him directly.
Dear applicants, do not forget about your academic marks. So academic performance sometimes is rather important. So we will make the decision anyway.
But girls, I have girls. Can I call you girls? Okay, I have last but not least question. Could you give some advice or recommendation to the applicants right now who are dealing with the online application or dealing with their parents thinking, trying to convince them to actually, join the movement? What would you tell the parents and the students? Marcel, could you start answering?
I think the most important thing is be yourself. Don't try and be someone else for the application, because when you're here far away from everything in this high pressure environment, yourself is going to be what comes through. And it's important for us to be able to say, is this kind of person going to fit in here? And as Lindsay said earlier, we're looking for a variety of people. We don't want one kind of person. So there's no point in pretending to be something that you're not. And in terms of preparing yourself, I would say get in touch with students who are currently at different UWCs. They will give you the best advice. They will help you understand the different communities that you will encounter at the different colleges. They will be really honest and really excited to hear from you. I know all our kids really love hearing from people who might apply, and they come and tell us, oh, I spoke to this person. And they're going to give you the best advice and help you understand what you're signing up for way better than reading any websites or doing any preparation tests or anything like that.
Okay, thank you, Marcel. And Lindsay, do you have something to add?
Everything is so similar. I was going to say that self-awareness is one of the most important things when you're applying. So very similar to Marcel, being yourself. Knowing who yourself is can be a hard thing when you're young, but checking in with yourself and reminding yourself as to why you want this as a person individually, not why your parents want it, why you want it, is key. It needs to come out in the application that this is what you want, and that's where being yourself, being honest, is super important, but being honest with yourself as well. As to why you want this kind of experience. Those are probably the keys, or I would say the tricks to being the right match for a UWC school is being honest with yourself. Yeah.
Thank you. Marcel, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something really funny. We find most of our students, their parents don't actually want them to come. And it's usually them who has decided, this is my place, I'm going to apply. Especially because for a lot of countries, our students have actually finished school in their home country already. And so a lot of parents are like, well, why do you want to add 2 more years onto your schooling? So we find the majority of our students actually are the ones who push the application way more than their parents do.
And that shows their dedication, right, to join UWC.
The motivation, one of our selection criteria.
Yeah, and we actually, this is about time. We want to say thank you for this wonderful webinar. We already took too much of your time because we promised a little less.
But it was a very interesting conversation. I suppose our audience will be happy with all our webinar. And
they better be happy.
Yep.
Thank you. And
thank you very much.
We hope this is not the last time we're going to do with you more webinars or...
A little bit earlier in time.
Yeah, when you don't have to go to sleep right away. Maybe it will be early in the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting us. Really awesome.
No problem. Yeah, thank you so much. It was wonderful to meet you and you, Marcel. Yeah, thanks just for including us.
Stay in touch. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
И, дорогие друзья, вновь возвращаемся к русскому языку. Спасибо большое, что просмотрели нас, что, в общем-то, задавали свои вопросы в Фейсбуке. Если мы на что-то не ответили, то мы обязательно ответим чуть позже. А сейчас ваша задача ставить лайки и все остальные позитивные эмоции к данному видео. И пишите, если вдруг какие-то вопросы возникают. Мы всегда рады помочь. Пока.
Спасибо, пока.